Do you know that only natural diamonds can be called diamonds now? Namaste. 2 weeks ago, India's quality regulator, Bureau of Indian Standards (BIS), came out with a new diamond disclosure standard. It requires jewelers and retailers to clearly distinguish laboratory-grown diamonds from natural diamonds at every stage of sale, including invoices, certificates, marketing material, and consumer communication. Under the rules, only natural stones can be referred to simply as diamonds, while lab-grown diamonds must be disclosed using full terms laboratory-grown diamond or laboratory-created diamond. To tell us more about the recent developments, we have with us Ms. Richa Singh, Managing Director, Natural Diamond Council, India. Welcome to Businessline's Trending Commodity Pick, Madam.
Hi, Subramani. Thank you again for having me here.
The BIS has come up with new regulations on diamonds. Can you elaborate on the new regulations that the BIS has come up with regard to laboratory-grown diamonds?
This new regulation by the BIS is really a big win for us. As an industry, I think it's a great first step towards empowering the consumer. We've been working on this for the last 3 years. We've collaborated with industry bodies like GJPC to work on this, present our side of the story from a consumer's point of view. And we are very thrilled to have begin the year on this. The year has truly begun on a good note for us. The new guideline provides a clear demarcation of the diamond terminology. They're very clear on what can be said, what cannot be said. The word diamond can only refer to a natural diamond. The retailers can use descriptors as natural, real, genuine, precious for natural diamonds. Laboratory-grown diamonds must be explicitly disclosed at the point of sale, catalogs, digital platforms. What is unique is that we as a country have said that, keeping in mind the young generation, that to avoid ambiguity, no abbreviations can be used. No abbreviations like LGD, lab grown. It needs to be clearly said as laboratory grown diamonds or laboratory created diamonds for the disclosure to the consumer. The term as pure, earth friendly, cultured, they cannot be used to describe laboratory grown diamonds. All brands in this vertical selling laboratory grown diamonds have to clarify and make sure that it is clear to the consumer what they're buying. The spirit of this was that we wanted to ensure that the consumer is very aware of what she's buying. This is an industry built on trust, and we think that giving them the right knowledge and the information is our job. And then the consumer needs to decide which category fits their pockets, their desires, and they make an informed choice.
What is NDC's standpoint on this framework? How does this position India in the global market?
So, as we grow and as the consumer's exposure, please understand 100% of this activity has been done to empower the consumer and ensure that the consumer has all the information at their fingertips. And as the Indian market becomes more organized, I think transparency is no longer a nice to have. It's a necessity. It's a foundation of every sale. You have to be transparent, authentic, and the information has to be shared with the consumer. And I think at the Natural Diamond Council, consumer protection has been always at the core of everything we do. It is about ensuring that all information, facts are shared with the consumer. We advocate awareness. We speak about consumer making informed decisions. And by adopting this, I think it'll go beyond saying that we are the world's best in cutting and polishing. It goes into saying that we become a leader in ethical, transparent standards globally. Also, as e-commerce expands, the consumer is already getting some information from globally. They're seeing content which comes from international brands that they're exposed to, whether on social media or on their websites or in Google. And I think it's high time that we as Indian brands did follow the same. So the consumer has the same information that is being shared globally, also coming to them from Indian brands who they're very proud of to buy and consume. So it is our duty to ensure that we are at par globally, and this is a great first step towards that.
Would you say that BIS regulation is in alignment with global standard, that of FTC of the US and CIBJO of France?
So, when we started working with them, the government, of course, evaluated the Consumer Protection Ministry, the BIS, GJPC, all of us were putting together everything that happens internationally. So, whether it was FTC, SIBJO, even the French Ministry of Economy and Commerce, who focus on the luxury audience. So, we have picked, I won't say it's identical, we have picked a lot from, inspired by a lot from these international standards, but there are slight differences. For instance, a small difference is that US FTC permits the use of the word cultured diamond, whereas BIS has flatly banned it and said no. India aligns with SIBJO here on this aspect, saying that cultured implies a biological process, like pearls, for instance, and this could mislead the consumer. So we do not allow the word cultured for laboratory grown diamonds in India as per the BIS norms, whereas FTC does. Now, again, what we are unique on compared to the others is that what I mentioned earlier, that India has its own unique take on abbreviations. American jeweler can easily use LGD or lab grown on social media, a caption or an invoice. But the BIS mandate is that there should be full phrase disclosure of laboratory grown diamond, because we are still a nascent market. We are new. Until the consumer becomes aware and the knowledge increases, we ensure that there is zero linguistic blurring of sorts, right? There shouldn't be an interpretation which could be, or a misinterpretation. So here we are way more stringent. So FTC may be more lenient, but their market is older than us, has been more evolved, and India is slightly stricter on this aspect. On the other hand, we have the French Ministry of Economy and Commerce. They completely decided to ban use of all terminology other than the word synthetic. They feel that they have a luxury consumer, and for all non-natural diamonds, the only word that can be used to describe is synthetic. So while we have been inspired, BIS has been inspired by these international norms, we have adapted it to India. We have taken inputs from the laboratory grown sector, from the natural diamond industry, and said, what is it that we can do to ensure the least complexity for the consumer, ensure maximum transparency. So, yes, if I was to give a one line, we are in global alignment, but we do have Indian nuances to suit the life stage our consumers are at.
How will this help buyers and retailers, especially those selling both natural and laboratory grown diamonds?
So, this industry, our industry, I think the biggest strength of the industry and the reason for growth is the fact that it's built on trust. It's built on transparency, the faith that you have on the retailer, the brand. And that's why we have people who keep going back. We have brands which are 100, 200 years old, because they ensure that the consumer knows best and the consumer knows everything and the consumer gets the best. Keeping that spirit in mind, I think that a retailer needs to be very cognizant of the additional information that the consumer is getting. Be aware of the fact that the consumer can get biased, because online, if you have information, you have misinformation. And how do we, as custodians of these brands, clarify? And we need to ensure that their trust is validated. So if you're selling both, the reason for disclosure is that the consumer knows what is what each brings to the table. So if one is a billionaire old or one is, the price points are different, the category, the creation is different, then as long as the consumer knows the distinction that they're two very distinct product categories and know what they fall under, the ultimate decision belongs to the consumer. So all we are ensuring is that at every level that the consumer reads, whether it's online, they get information at point of sale, our staff behind the counter, it is aligned, they get the right information and it's not contradictory. So what is great is, if you remember my conversation with you a few years ago, till 2 years ago, when you went online, there were, last scan we had 73 odd descriptors of laboratory grown diamonds. You said cultured, new age diamonds, modern diamonds. There were so many descriptors that the consumer didn't know what it is that they were talking about. So at least now there are two distinct categories, and you're very clear what each category stands for. Of course, I can speak about how unique my category is. The laboratory grown industry will speak about what their category stands for. But here, I think full labeling, disclosure, description, because visually there can be ambiguity. And I think that mixing of stocks, we have to be very ensuring that clear labeling, reducing risks of ambiguity. And I think what is missed out while you mentioned buyers and retailers, I think what we have to be very clear on is that our staff has the knowledge. Our teams, we are working very hard as NDC to say, how does the teams behind the counter have as much knowledge or more to be able to guide the consumer and advise the consumer on what is happening? So it's all about knowledge. Transparency, like I said, transparency is the one word which was the genesis of this conversation. And I think it's great that we can roll it out. Now, the only thing we as NDC would request is the implementation of this. So we have to ensure how the people, while BIS has laid out a guideline, how do we ensure that the brands follow this framework or guideline that has been set out for them?
Thank you very much for your insightful views. We hope our viewers have benefited from these. Be happy and keep smiling, viewers. Until we meet in our next episode, this is Subramani Ra Mancombu signing off. Good luck.